Calendar here. Okay, I'm going to attempt to make a slightly shorter video. I think I say that every time. We'll see what happens. I want to. Last week's video was a little bit hectic for me, so I'm going to slow things down a bit, and I'm just going to focus this week. I'm still going to show you 3 different things, but I'm going to focus just on texture. So, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. But before we get into everything, I want to show you what I ended up doing with last week's spreads that I started. If you remember last week's video on different things you could put into your book, we did a junk journaling, we did leaf printing, and we did a picture frame. And I did not do anything with the leaf printing. I haven't gotten to that one yet. But with the junk journaling, I wanted to show you what I ended up doing was going back, and hopefully you can see this. And should we turn it around like this? I don't know. I ended up adding in a lot more collage elements, a lot more textures. I ended up using up some of that extra pink paint that wasn't showing up in my other book. I kind of slapped it in there. If at any point you ever have leftover acrylic paint, don't throw it away. Either if it's like a small amount, you can just take it and maybe slap it on a part of your book, maybe the inside cover, back cover, whatever. If it's a lot, just get plain white paper or any reusable materials and just slap it on there, because that can always become a texture of its own. But yeah, my daughter gave me some really nice collage elements that she had in a book made for making collages. And then I found this lady's torso, and I actually pasted on the letters. Anyway, so I added a lot of collages. This was my tabs, my junk journaling tabs, and I ended up sort of further refining one of those and I wanted to bring in this pink color, and I wanted to bring in more of this brown. So I actually added in a couple more colors. And then what I tried to do is throughout this 8 to 10 page section is I tried to continually use those elements. I'm using the green, the pink, the brown. I'm using nature type elements, and also these cool, the idea of, I guess, this pattern that I made, but with letters. So this is the back of my tabs, and I just collaged in another cool page. It was already pink. I didn't paint it, so I kind of got lucky on that one. What I like about this too is that with everything I did, you can still see, remember, this is my book that has like a sort of a niche dictionary, so it has words and it gives an explanation and an image. I like that on all these pages you can still see what the word is. That one was fraught, fruit, and this is gadget. And I did try to make my illustrations somewhat line up with what was on the page. I think I was able to find this in the last video, this phrase, flowering at an early age. So that kind of goes with my general overall theme. Another thing I did was add in more extra text, which is a big part of my personal collage process. So I like to go back and do that. See, I'm reusing, for a sustained spread to be cohesive, I'm reusing these elements so that there's some tie back to previous. I added that ribbon. Remember I saved my ribbon? Here it is. I've also Mod Podged over all of these pages, and I've put packing tape where I think someone might, if it's over a texture, I put packing tape, or where I think someone might turn the page. So I like to do that because it preserves the book. I think I had gotten that in last time around. And then I went ahead and pasted this guy in, did some more texture with him. And again, I'm reusing this idea of a linear text Lots of linear elements in here, so that's another sort of motif going throughout. Brought in the brown. I ended up really liking these spreads. I hope you try something like junk journaling out. That's what I'm calling it. I don't have, specific terminology for all of this, but I'm calling it that because the process I started with was including these fairly random elements that one might typically call junk. Okay, so that was that book. And then the other book where we did the frame, I did not change this page. This page was complete. All I did to this page was put Mod Podge over it. But what I'm excited about is that I ended up doing a full page collage next to it. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in this video is how to make a full page collage. Now, I had already selected these words. Even before I did this spread here, I had already selected these words. So I left those selected. Remember, this is a book on joy. They say, there is something pathetic in joy which is based on illusion. Our joy is increased by consciousness, a naturally all-embracing interest in everything. Seemed like a good spot of text to do a full-page collage. And these textures were all taken from a Wayfair catalog. One page of a Wayfair catalog that was full of throw pillows. You would never know it, right? Like it sort of just reads as texture. And that's a good segue into the kinds of things I want to do today. Again, if you're approaching your book and you're kind of staring at a blank page or a blank spread, you don't know where to start, one of the places you can start is texture. Often I'll have either a collection of papers I like or leftover paint as mentioned, or I'll just not really know what I'm going to do, and I'll start with texture. This is a good example. I wanted to show you another example of a full page collage, which I did recently, and this is a black and white full spread collage, actually, which I did with, I don't know, probably 25 different black and white patterns. This was a big one. I'm super pleased with this one. But it doesn't have to be that, I guess, intense when you're talking about creating your own texture. A couple other ones I wanted to show you is this one. This is a woven, different strips of paper woven together to make a background. And I have another one of those here. It's not woven, but take this out. The background on this is strips of paper just pasted in, sort of in a V pattern, although I think I let the architecture of it get away from me, but sort of in a V. And this was probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 different patterns that had blue in them. And that's what I ended up having the spread be about. And then here's a different example of just pasting in strips. This is in my reset book. And this is only, this is less than 10 probably different pieces of paper that were pink. And I haven't done anything with this yet, but now I can come back. This is my background now. I can come back in and do something over it. So that's two of the things I want to do. I want to do full page collage, and I want to do, actually that might be all three. I want to do a woven texture with you, and I want to do just pasting in strips like this. And because we're short on time, well, not short on time, but I want to make these videos a little more efficient, I'm going to use this new, very small book that I found yesterday at a bookstore. It's a German pocket translator, and the pages are really small. So I figured this would be an easy way to kind of start demonstrating to you guys some of these things. Now, if we're going to make our own, I want to start with the woven, because you can do a woven pattern with only two different colors or patterns, and so it's pretty accessible, and you don't even have to put it in your book, but I mean, you don't have to, you can weave it outside of the book and then put it in later. You don't need to know where it's going to go or anything like that. So for a woven, I'm looking for two cool, you know, likely you're going to be working in something bigger than this. So look for, if you can find it, this magazine has a really cool inside cover that is all one texture. So that's going to be good for this. And then I need one more page that's going to give me the same amount of texture, but and coordinates, but is different. I don't want this the exact same, so this might work. This is a lot. And actually blue is good because I'm still debating, but I'm thinking about making the theme of my circle book that we pass. I'm thinking about making the theme something to do with blue. I'm not quite there yet. I need to get going on it though. We're passing in a couple weeks, I think. This is a really cool blue pattern. Maybe that'll give me enough since I'm doing a small book. But look for a couple coordinating patterns. They don't have to coordinate based on color or one color, just two patterns that you think go well together. And then enough of each that you can make the size texture that you want. And I'm only trying to make this little small size, so I don't think I'm going to have any problems doing that with this amount. And I don't even really need scissors. What I can do is just go ahead and start. And you can cut if you want to cut, and cutting makes you feel more in control. You can cut. I prefer to tear. I think I'm going to go more this size anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and tear. Oops, if you tear, you make mistakes, and you got to live with it. So keep that in mind. Maybe tear tenderly. So you see when I tear, I'm getting rough edges. So again, that's going to become a part of the pattern. If you don't want that to be a part of the pattern, then don't tear it. Use your scissors and cut straight lines. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a good. This is nice because it's all one pattern, but it also has a lot of variation in it. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe just tear this in half. Save these for later. And that's a good size to go in my book. This paper tears much nicer because it was the back, like, page next to the cover, and I think they used slightly nicer paper back then. Now these are big strips. You could do, these are fairly wide, but you could do like half of this as a strip. Again, I'm just showing you the principle, and you do with it what you will. So now I'm literally I'm going to take and weave these together. This may be easier actually if I do it directly into my book, because now this has a nice clean edge on it. I might want to save that for I think I'm going to have to I don't know if I'm going to be able to use that one. I think I might have to do this directly into my book because, I mean, no, I don't have to do that. I'm actually just going to start gluing. I'm just going to use a glue stick for this. Just going to use a glue stick. I like these ones. I have a couple with edges, nice clean edges, so I'm going to use that at the bottom and at the top. And other than that, doesn't really matter. So you could also do tape, actually. If you were able to weave all this without glue, get it the way you wanted it, then you could literally just put a bunch of tape over it, packing tape over it, and it would stay put. So if I want, I can do it right together, like this, or I can leave a little space. And since I'm putting it in a book, I probably want to leave a tiny bit of space because I haven't done this in a while, actually. Because then we'll be able to see the text through it, right? I have not done this in a while, so I'm going over, under, over, under. That's the key. Over, under. So how many pages? If I leave that much space, I can really only get three vertical strips. That's okay. I'm doing a tiny one. But remember, you could make as big as you want, right? I could go as big as this piece of paper. So I'm just doing over, under, over, under. I'm going to snip this off because I've now determined that this is the width I want. Now I could go all the way across, I guess. But this is the width I want because this is already going to be bigger, larger than my page. So I'm going to go ahead and snip this off so I don't have extra glue hanging around. Once again, I did bring a cup of water, but I forgot once again to bring my wet cloth with me to this video. Okay, so now I'm gonna, you know what weaving is. Now I'm gonna do under, over, under so that I get a different effect. So this one goes, and then now I have my width and I can decide how much of this I want, or like which part of the pattern I want to be in, which is cool. So this is under. This is a really good activity for glue stick. And, you know, if I'm leaving enough space, but the spaces are going to be different because I chose to tear my paper versus cut it in some even manner. So there's going to be space, but uneven space in this case. So I'm already getting my texture going. I can probably do 2 more cross. So I'll do this one, which is going to be top, start top. And I wonder if I can. I might just be doing thick. I did such thick lines. I'm making a big chunky woven something or other. I'll do one more just to use up my edge. And this would be under. And I can trim this down to whatever size I want to fit into my book. And then, you know, I mean, I could keep making it bigger if I wanted by adding, you know, keep going up and adding. Like, oh, I changed my mind. I want this to be, you know, keep going up. I could do something like this. So we're attaching all this with glue. So we have a lot of, in this case, a lot of flexibility and freedom. I can make it whatever size I want. I could keep going up. I could keep going out. I would just continue to lengthen my, if I wanted to make it even taller, I would just continue to lengthen my vertical strips. And then eventually, you know, I'd have something twice as tall. But again, this is just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. Cut this one off. I'm going to cut this one off because it's on this side. Isn't my chunky woven? I tried to leave spaces, but I could have put them right next to each other. I could have done much skinnier strips. The sky is the limit, and I'm doing this with 2 different textures, which is pretty amazing because it doesn't take up a lot of resources. It doesn't take a lot of time because you're not ripping, you know, 25 different patterns. You're just using 2 patterns, ripping them, and making a texture. I really like where this is going. I'm not going to actually attach this into this book because To be honest, I might use this in my circle book because I really like the direction of it. But what I would do next is I would take it, and then if I want to use it as a background, I would decide where I'm going to put it on, you know, on this spread. This would be cool because I could cut it, paste half and half on each side. Then I'd have a lot of texture going across. Again, I could keep adding to it so that it covers the whole spread. I could, whoops, I got a little part that didn't get glued. I could cut it down so that it fits nicely on one page, and then I could make my poem or something different over here. So this is a super cool process, and I haven't done it in a while, so I'm really glad that we did it. Okay, so that's weaving, and it is, I mean, if you're one of those people that binges shows, get you a whole bunch of texture, binge a show, and start making your own paper, because that's basically what I did. I basically made a paper that I can now use as a texture in my book. I could also, especially if I hadn't have saved these empty spaces, if everything was tight, I could then take this paper and cut it into a shape that I wanted to make. So that would be a whole different texture I'm getting out of this one process. So pretty cool. Next, we're going to do sort of the same idea as far as the strips, but we're going to not weave them. We're just going to lay them down. And in this case, I will go ahead and put them right into the book. I have a Wayfair catalog. Catalogs are good for texture. That's what I've figured out. I have Wayfair and Garnet Hill. I don't order from either one of these places, but they send me catalogs and I use them. So what I'm looking for is maybe a color story. I'm just looking for texture, basically, that I can use that's going to go together. Get this out of the way. So I like this, if you can see. I like this as like rugs or something. I'm going to go ahead and cut those. That gives me a pretty good color story. It's, again, these kind of springish, brightish. I've got blue, coral, yellow, green. Of course, this is a catalog, so the other thing about catalogs is that everything in them matches, because companies have a marketing department and they have seasonal offerings that usually kind of follow along a certain color story. So now I've got one pattern that's very cool. I just want to look for a couple more, like this is a pretty large scale pattern. I want to look for a couple more things that give me a pattern but maybe aren't as large. And remember, I want to do strips, so I need it to at least be as long as my book if I want to use it as a strip. This is kind of cool. I'm looking for vertical images. This is kind of cool. It's a window and it has the reflection of the sunset. I don't know. That might work. I'm going to try to find, I think, 5 different vertical textures. Here's a good one. Easy peasy. And if they give you something that's already, you know, already interesting. So that's one. Just cut the rest of this out. And I'm cutting this time just to give you a bit of a variety. To be honest, I typically tear. Like, that's my MO. I usually only cut my textures when it's like hanging off the page and I want it to be neat. Hang on to that. I'd like to find something else that has this blue color in it. But I need enough of it. The blue or the coral. Ooh, this would work. I think this will work for the coral. Corally pink. Whatever it becomes, it will be interesting. I'm not going to need this amount of materials. And then this has some blue, but I am overcompensating to make sure I don't have to go back in and cut anything. All right, if I could get something blue. There's water. Well, it's not very shiny. Maybe this blue-green. Some more water. Might have to use the water because I think... Actually, here's a nice... This will bring in blue and more other texture. So I'll just take that one. I'm just kind of looking for long rectangular things. I think that's 5. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I tried to take my allergy pill earlier today so that I wouldn't be sniffing the entire time I'm on this call. Because I'm doing these in the morning, which is my big allergy time, which if you have allergies. I like this pattern too. It's a bit of different colors, but maybe I'll just go for it for the sake of time. Catalogs are also good for words, you know, cutting out phrases and words. They usually have nice, big, bold fonts, like meet us in the backyard. Check into your own private paradise. I like that. So yeah, I'm going to put that away. And then we're going to further cut into, since I already have these, I'm just going to use that as my guide and basically, let's see, basically I want to cut the long so that I have enough. So I'm just gonna, now I could like ruler and pencil this. It's not really my style. I think I'll try to just make a snip. It helps if it's got graphics because then you can follow along with the graphics. Just gonna try and make some snips where I want the cuts, and then maybe I can use a ruler from there. I can get a lot of mileage out of this one image, actually. Okay. Questions. Let me know if, as I'm doing these videos, if you have questions about anything, because I want these to be useful, but they can also be responsive now that everyone is sort of working in their books. Hopefully you're working alongside me in these videos as well. Like I said, you can always pause it. And if you're like, ooh, I really liked that weaving, you could just pause that and do some more weaving, and then you could come back to this part of the video. You have free will, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not worried about these being exact. I could, but I'm not. And I don't think there's a world in which I would worry about such a thing, because I am just not that kind of person. But a lot of this is going to get, it's going to be overlapped. So, okay. So I think I'm going to be less exact and just try to get some nice sharp lines. I do not like using a ruler. I think I'm going to throw this one. I'm going to save this one. I like this, but it doesn't go with the palette to me, so I'm just going to put it aside. All right, I want to do the same thing here. Here's another way to get nice lines that match up, is you take all your papers and cut them all at the same time. Dun, da, da, da. We're all about efficiency here at Words by Lily. We want to be efficient. Get to the good stuff. This isn't the good stuff. The good stuff is the pasting, the creating of texture. This is just busy work to get you where you want to go. And then I can get one more. All right, now I have lots of cool linear strips, and you could literally do this with anything. I mean, I tried to choose, you know, stuff I thought went with each other, but I could flip these over and do them on the back side and it would still look cool, because that's just the kind of process it is. Now, I often do like a V shape. We could also just do strips, right? I could lay down some glue. I would likely overlap, you know, given the irregularity of my strips, I would overlap and do something like this, where's my fourth? Where the pattern is coming through, but this is a little big now. I made my pattern smaller. And you can still decide the size of your patterns even when you're pasting them in, right? So I'm just making a full page texture, basically. I would let them hang over. Maybe I would just let them hang over on one side. Then when I cut all those off, I have a lot more you know, background images to work with, either in this project or something else. So basically that's what we're talking about. I don't know if it looks cool from here. I actually don't like the yellow. I like the other textures. Take the yellow out. The other textures also have a more, do I like the window? No. I like those three together. So I'll probably just take those three and alternate them. That would be pretty easy. Again, we can use glue stick for this, which is nice. We just need, I'm gonna go ahead and separate the sheet behind it with a glue paper, and glue stick is perfect for this. It's fast. I just have to try not to get my hands so dirty. So here I'm actually ended up using like 3 patterns. That's it, patterns. And I'm gonna line them up sort of at the bottom so that you know, I'm just gonna get the part of the pattern that I like, and I'm just slightly overlapping these to each other when I put my glue down, so that you know, there's no can't see the words. In this case, I'm just covering up what's on the page. I just want to see at the end of this project, I just want to see what I chose, the texture I chose. For whatever reason, I am not interested in the words coming through. And then I'm just going to repeat in order here. It's nice because these textures that I pulled out have multiple textures on themselves. So if I can reverse those and or play around with the placement and get an even cooler effect from these textures. So because of the, if I was doing this with plain colors, this would look very different. Plain colored paper, like a pink, blue, green. But because I have so much texture going onto the strips of paper that I'm making texture with, it's getting really juicy, we would call it. So, catalogs. Don't throw out your catalogs. And just, you know, if you don't have a lot of space, go through the catalog right when you get it and just pull out 5 images that you like, or cut 5 phrases that you like, or pull out a couple full sheet textures that look cool to you, because that way you don't have to save the whole magazine. Okay, I need to put a little, but you're still getting something out of that. Basically free thing that they are sending you. So I can't get all the way back to my original. Oh, here we go. Now this is very symmetrical too. I've got same pattern. Oh no, it's not, because I didn't get quite to the end. I've got some interest. If I wanted to do one more, I could keep going the other way, you know. I could go this way, and I would have patterns across both of these pages. I have plenty of material. I could also do a crisscross. Maybe I want to do a frame around. I could go top, bottom, here. I could use my window to create a frame of some sort, maybe. I have all kinds of options. And then I would just be looking for either I want to do something similar over here, or I want to balance it with a different collage. I mean, this is mainly in German, but if this was an English book, maybe I find a phrase over here that I like. There are some English, but something has dropped out. That's a pretty cool phrase. So then I could collage or somehow make a different pattern for this entire page. So, you get the idea, right? I like using the same papers, but maybe going in a different direction would be cool as a counterpoint to that collage. Maybe I'm making them slightly closer together too. This is fun. So, I guess the point of this is that you don't have to only use the page itself as your texture, and you don't have to only use what am I trying to say? You don't have to only use like colored pencils and markers and stuff to create texture, although that is fun, and I want to look at a video about creating. I want to make a video about creating texture with just you know, ink of some sort, but using paper as texture is kind of a no-brainer because it's so rich. It's often free. And it just adds a lot, I think, to your book when you do this. Okay, I'm going to stop, but I wanted to give you an example of how this might go across a 2-page spread. And remember, I would come back and cut off all this extra that I have sticking out. Most likely I would cut that off so that my book would be, you know, it'd be even with my book. And then I'd get a whole bunch more textures. We can do that now. It's kind of satisfying to snip, snip, snip. And I have all of these textures that I could then go right back into my book if I wanted. So that's pretty cool. And the same thing over here. is why I put in a glue page, because I over glued and it is sticking. So actually the pages on this book are they're fairly thin, so I don't think I'm going to cut that one yet until this all dries. But anyway, you get the idea, right? It's cool. It's cool. It's texture. It's textural. Okay. One more quick one. I'm gonna get rid of all this. Saving all this. Okay. Oh, you know what? I have to use the same book. Okay. That's okay. I'm gonna use this book again, but I'm going to protect it from itself in this way. Okay. And now I can try to do just a tiny, you'll get the idea of a full page collage, but, you know, on a much, much, much smaller scale. And for this, you don't need anything linear. You just need patterns. So I'm looking for like either a color story or the first pattern that really pops out to me. So here's a good one, this pink rug. There's actually a pink, a green, and a blue rug here in the same image. You see this? Are we getting too much sun so that you can't see? Let me put this down. How's that? Is that better? Is that better? I don't know if that's better or worse. It's the pause for technical difficulties. I think it's okay. Anyway, this is the first pattern. It's got like pink, green, blue. And then, so that's kind of my color story. So this is a really cute, tiny blue floral with a bird. Don't worry if there are people's hands in it, because you can either, or any body part, because, excuse me, you can either cut them out or at a later date, or you just don't even notice it, basically. So here's, again, the nice thing about catalogs is that everything matches to begin with. So here's another small texture I could use. Particularly liking the flannel. Ooh, here's another really nice one. This is like a linen rust and blue. I'm just gonna try to get, what is that? That's at least 3. We just need a few so you can get, here's a whole page of texture, basically. I have made other collages with these same textures because these people keep sending me their catalog, even though I don't buy anything from them. I think I bought sheets from them once, a long time ago. So, yeah, there's textures everywhere. It's like a texture with a white background, which might provide some relief to all the rest of this. Yeah. So you're not going to be able to tell when this collage is done that, you know, I made all this out of sheets and pillowcases. Now, typically when I do a full page collage, I actually don't take only, you know, textures from only one magazine, because I do think, I think I ruined okay, never mind, it's okay. I do think that could get a little one note, you know, like I need something that has, this also has clothing in it, you know, I need something that isn't just floral or that isn't made by the same person, because it could get a little one note. But I don't know, we'll find out because we're about to do it. So I'm just cutting out the bottom of a dress. That also goes pretty well with my, I'm gonna take that one out. What do I need? Some green or pink might be nice. Everything these people do is floral, but maybe I could find actual solid color. And then that would be giving us, here's a stripe. Stripes are always nice. I love making collage out of bathing suit textures. It's just so rich. Here's a nice gingham. At least this is something different. Anyway, so this is what we got. Let's see what happens. At this point, I'm not gonna cut anymore. I actually prefer for my collages to be a little less neat. So I'm trying to make sure I don't ruin my other page. Let me turn to a different page here. Here we go. So what I would do, remember I'm doing a full page collage, but my pages are very small, so I'm just trying to cover this amount. Now instead of just pasting these in as a large image, I'm gonna try to get 3 of each, like 3 unique shapes of each of these, okay? And then we'll come back to it if we need more. Sometimes the shapes are more linear than others. Sometimes they're chunky. I'm just trying to let the, the material be what it is. I have my this is my special image now. It has a little tiny bird on it, and I'm not going to tear that one because I want that to maybe be like a call out of some sort. I know I don't want this lady's arms. I can go ahead and pull that off. 1, 2, 3. I'm putting the excess away, and I'm keeping 3. Now, I do 3. You could do 5. You could do 7. You can always have an image of 1. But I'm just trying to start with an odd number. And then you start going. I have something here that has a nice clean edge on it. So I'm going to I need one more glue page. I'm going to first just put that into a corner because it's nice and tidy, and that alleviates me having to cut something off. There's kind of a white border, okay? And then what I'm going to do is, remember I have 3 of each, and I'm going to space those out. So divide your paper in your mind into 3 areas. Maybe it's top, middle, bottom. Maybe it's left, right, center. Maybe it's both. And space out the 3 cutouts of your first pattern across those 3 sections, okay? So now I have kind of a top, middle, bottom thing going here. That's my first pattern that I just put down, okay? Now, I'm going to choose my next pattern. Again, I wanted these to be random shapes because now all we have to do is fill in. I might go the other way with it. I might not. It kind of depends on the size of the pattern. But I'm just trying to fill in. Maybe I go, yeah, this has an extra. Yeah. Maybe I go this way with this one, but I'm not going quite to the bottom at the time being. I have extras of almost all my patterns, so I can always come and put in more. I want my third piece of that one to maybe be a little bit smaller. Okay, that's 2 patterns down on the page. You're getting I bet you're getting the idea. I hope that you have your book out and you're following along or doing some of this on your own. Okay. Keep filling in the edges a bit here. What's nice about this size page is that I'm getting good coverage. Maybe try this on a small scale first. I think most of your books are pretty, like the page sizes, pretty accessible. And I'm just trying to vary, even though all of these scraps are the same pattern, I'm trying to vary like the orientation. So I'm still getting the repeat of that pattern, but it's not so obvious that it's the exact same thing every single time. I don't know. And the reason I'm doing 3, I think I mentioned in the last video, is that that's just sort of a rule of art, that, you know, things are interesting in odd combinations. And by interesting, I mean like it's compelling, maybe, like you pay attention to it and your brain, it's actually attractive to the human brain to see things in odd numbers. Now, if I wanted to, for whatever reason, make a very, you know, what's the word where the two sides match up? I can't think of it right now. You know what I'm talking about? Then maybe I would do, you know, a pattern here, a pattern here. You know, I could line this up differently in order to make a more formal pattern. But I'm trying to make something that's like not formal, actually, which is interesting because the materials I'm using are pretty, like Garnet Hill is a pretty traditional type. Their patterns are very traditional. They're not like an avant-garde or an abstract patterner. Can see already that it's getting to be pretty juicy. It's cool to do this on a small scale because you can get a really good idea of like what a cool process this is. And it doesn't take a ton of time. I mean, the majority of your time is going to be spent obviously tearing these papers out, especially if you're doing this on a much larger scale. So again, put on a show and get to tearing, you know. And if I get to the point where I'm letting them overlap each other just so there's no white space. But if I don't need the bottom of this, again, I'm just letting it hang off and I'll go back and cut it. Now I have some of my more linear textures, which are gonna go well to balance out all of this floral. So I'm gonna put this one across here. I don't know if you can tell. I don't think you'd be able to tell this was like sheets and pillowcases. I don't think you'd be able to tell. And just at this point, my top, middle, bottom has been pretty, you know, I only have space left where I have space. So I don't have to pay attention to the top, middle, bottom as much, but I do really want to space these out so that we're getting a good. Now another trick is I tore this first, but I don't have room for that. So I can either cover up what I have here, which in this case isn't a bad idea because I have some paper showing and I want to cover that up. Or I could tear this and fill in this space. I can still fill in this space. I would just have to tear my original thing too. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover up because I have some space to fill. And then I'll let the rest hang off. This is such a small scale. I hope it's being translated into the video. Now, I always do these little small scraps. That's kind of just what I do. Even if it's a really large collage, I do small scraps. Obviously, one way you could translate this on a larger scale is to have a bigger piece of paper and use much bigger scraps. You still would get a lot out of, you know, 5 to 7 patterns. And it wouldn't take as much time because you're not having to tear all these little tiny scraps. Now I can't get these as spaced out because I'm only left with so much space. But what I am doing is trying to fill in where I can. Now, I've got room left. I have my special image that I pulled out that I want to put on top. And I don't mind having some of the original page peeking out there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and paste that on. For the other open area, I could either put more of my textures in, or I could find some additional, I could find text that I want to put in here. There's nothing on this page that I want to highlight, so I would have to find it somewhere else. Maybe I find it somewhere else in this book, and then I put those words in here, or maybe I just find, you know, from these catalogs, I find a word that I like. I mean, there's something here that says weird but want it, so, you know, let's do that. It's yellow, which is going to make it stand out. It's not quite large enough to fill the space, so this is a good, all of a sudden this is a spread about capitalism, because I've used all these products as my background. And now I'm going to put in a phrase that says weird but want it. So to me, that's a comment on capitalism. Okay, now what I'm looking for is a way to fill in with textures that aren't already in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in. I really like the rug, and we didn't get much of that in, even though there's already a little bit of rug. So I'm just going to do some slightly larger pieces here so that we can get her done. I could do another of this gingham. I really like the gingham, and that'll look good behind the words. And the hands are sticky. It's the theme of these videos. Oh, I have a area down here that I didn't see. So what I'm going to do is, since I know I have the excess of this, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off and see if I can fill in that area while I'm at it here. Okay. I need a little bit more of this to fill this in. I'm trying not to be nitpicky on these videos, trying to go at a decent rate, and then you can kind of, you know, when you're gonna really get good at collage is when you start making collages. I have another open area up top. Let me go ahead and put my words in. Now I can put it wherever I want, but I'm gonna keep it here. One thing that's nice is the background on these words, weird but want it, matches my yellow bird, so I do like that. I think, being who I am, I would just want to fill in. I would definitely want to fill in any blank space, because that's who I am as a person and an artist. So another cool thing is using 2 strips of the same pattern. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to use 2 strips of the same pattern to make a corner. So that's always a cool trick. And you can keep layering up. You don't have to stop at one layer of cutouts. Like, you could keep going with this, and in my opinion, it just gets richer and richer the more you add. So, and you could find a whole different pattern, and you're like, oh, I actually want to add this in too, and you could add strips of it. I mean, one thing I do often like to do, remember my window pane? I often like to do, like, I don't know, just a random element. That just keeps it interesting. So, you know, it keeps, this is a one-off, and so it kind of, again, is like, oh, I wonder why that's there, or, you know, what is the relationship of that to the rest of the collage? So I could take these and maybe go 3 across or something, or just 1, you know. So I'm just building up. It's difficult. I know it's difficult to see on camera, but it's also difficult to see in real life. But texture is texture, and that's going to draw in. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, what is that, you know? Why did she choose to put those random lines on at the end? I'm going to do 3 close together, but I'm going to make them different heights. So that's 1, 2, and after this, as promised, video will be over. I don't think I was any shorter, but hopefully it was a little less frantic. I felt like last week's video was very frantic. I don't know. That's how I was feeling. Maybe it didn't come across in the video. I want this to be slightly different. Okay. Now, I would, at the end of this, I would trim so that I have a straight line that lines up with my pages. Trimming top and bottom. A bit of a messy work area here. I have to trim this off for sure. I don't worry about any of those until the very end if I can help it. And then I just get them all at one fell swoop. Take them all off, and then here we have our collage, our mini full-page collage. I want you to be able to see it without. Cool, huh? So this is a way to work in your book on a page that doesn't have words that you want to highlight. You could just cover over the whole page with a collage, and you can put your own words in if you want. Okay? All right. I'm signing off. I hope this was useful. Talk to you soon.